All right, what's up, Egg Pools here. I'm just gonna quickly go over some stuff after watching that first video, you guys. It's basically just some quick fundamentals. I don't think really getting into strategy is quite needed just yet. There's just quite a few fundamentals I think your team really needs to kind of cover. So I'm just gonna quickly go over those here, and then hopefully you guys can maybe put some of those into the game that you guys have later today. And then off of that game, we can maybe go into some strategy and kind of look at video footage from that game. But there's just so many fundamentals from that first game that need to be worked on. It doesn't really make sense to go into detail on that game. You guys kind of just got ran over. And I think we can cover why that happened here real quickly. So I think the first thing to remember is that war is very different than all the other games. It's 10v10. You have 10 people that you have to coordinate with. Everyone has to be on the same page. That's extremely difficult. Probably the hardest game style to play. It's hard enough when you have 3 team members to get everybody in that team to do what you want them to do at the same time, let alone when you have 4 and now you're stepping it up to 10. So it can be extremely challenging. Everyone's talking, everyone has their own ideas, different play styles, and it's really hard to get everybody on the same page and to work collectively as a team. I remember watching a TikTok from Slap a Duck, and they were talking about some strategy with war. And one of the things I remember him saying is like, you could have the best player in the game on your team, and you're still probably going to lose because war is just too many people, and it's really a game of what I have here is teamwork, patience, and discipline. The first thing everyone on the team needs to realize is that you need to leave your ego at the door. Okay, it's not about how many kills you get, it's not about how much damage you get. There's strictly a winner and a loser. That's it. You either win the game or you don't. It doesn't matter. There's no scores, there's no points. All that doesn't matter. You could win the game with 10 kills and be done. So it's very important that people aren't trying to compete with each other within the team because that's just going to hinder teamwork, right? It's not about how much damage you're doing. It's not about getting that kill. It's about strictly winning the game. That's it. So kills, points, and score do not matter. Leave your ego at the door. You shouldn't even be looking at the score at the end of the match. It doesn't matter. It doesn't tell you whether you did a good or bad job. It's strictly when you see victory or you don't. That's it. That's all that matters. So again, the hardest thing about war is that you have 10 people. How do you organize 10 people? How do you get it all on the same page? I think there's a couple ways that most teams do this. They break down the teams into smaller pieces so that they're much more manageable. So you have 2 options here real quick. You have like a 3 groups of 3 and a single, or you have 2 groups of 4 and 2 singles. I think the 3-3-3-1 method is probably the easiest to do because it feels the most natural. Everyone's used to playing in, regular pubs, running 3 people. It just kind of feels a little bit easier to run. Whereas the 4, once you get up to 4 people, it becomes harder to manage those 4 people. So that's something to think about. Again, I don't know that you guys should be, maybe you can kind of implement that on this next game, kind of be like, all right, let's group up into 3s and let's kind of keep track of each other. Okay. And I think within that group, it's always nice to have kind of a team lead. I think we normally do this on normal games, like who's going to be calling it out for, your team of 3, but it goes deeper than that since there's 10. So within the teams, you should have a team leader. That team leader's role is to keep everybody in their team doing what that team's role is supposed to be doing, right? Because it's really easy for people to wander off, and then it's extremely hard for one person to watch all 10 people. It just kind of can't happen. So we break down into smaller groups, and then within that group, you kind of designate someone to make sure that whatever the game plan you guys come up with is actually happening, and that somebody within that group isn't wandering off or getting too far ahead or just doing something that you didn't formulate your game plan to actually happen. So whatever that is, not getting into that right now. We're not there. There's just fundamentals. I'm just kind of touching base on that. So within the group, a group leader, making sure everyone's sticking together. The key for this next game for you guys is sticking together. People start playing solos and running off. It just doesn't work out. 10v10, you can't do that. Okay. So those team leaders are kind of focusing on keeping their team close together, rotating as a group. And then it's also, remember, when you have 10 people on your team, everyone's talking. Try not to speak unless you need to speak. And then if you need something, make sure that you're calling out who you are. There's 10 people. Everyone doesn't know your voice yet, probably. It's very difficult to remember 10 people's different voice. So for example, be like, oh, people moving in over here on pools. I need a res on, pools, or I need ammo for pools, or who wants this gun, pools. You call out your name, because otherwise people don't know who you are talking. Okay. Let's talk about the strength of the game. I think a lot of people underestimate what the strongest thing in the game is, and it is by far the harmonica. When you watch back at that game you guys just had, if you look at the other team you played against, I saw at least 2 harmonicas running, which in my opinion, almost everybody should be carrying a harmonica. The harmonica is in fact the strongest weapon in the game, right? You get a plus heal of +2 every second, and when that harmonica is running full steam, you get 8 +8 per second. That's crazy, and that's split between everybody. So theoretically, if you had 9 people within range of your harmonica, which you could have because it's a war of 10, you could get 70 plus 72 health every second. That's insanity, right? Now that's not going to happen. I'm just trying to show the strength of the actual harmonica. Everyone should be carrying a harmonica. And you're going to say, well, Pools, how do I'm used to my loadout and harmonica. What am I going to drop? That gets me down to the next thing. I'm going to actually skip this one real quick, and we're going to talk about war. What's different about war than a regular match, right? And war, the difference with war is 98% of the entire match is done at a distance, right? Either long range or mid range. There's very little close quarter action in war. Why is that? Well, if you're close quadrants in war, you're surrounded by 4 or 5 people. You don't really come out of that victoriously, right? That's not how this game is won. If you're that close to where you're using, a shotgun, a P90, an M10, Uzis, or a Tech 9, sure, you might get a kill. Maybe you get 2 kills, but you're going to be swarmed by the team. There's just too many people on that team. You're going down. And what happens when you go down? You lose all of your stuff. They get their teammate back up. Their teammate gets all of their stuff back, and they get to loot your body. You just gave them a free drop, right? So in my opinion, you shouldn't be carrying these weapons. The Tech 9, the Uzis, the M10, the P90, the shotgun. You're just not going to use them. And if you are using them, you're probably not playing war correctly, right? It's not until the very end when you're swarming the other team that might make sense. But even then, you really don't need it. At that point, they're just so overwhelmed. You're not just the only person firing on someone. There's 3 other people firing on them. You don't really need the shotgun, right? Even if you go down, let's say you end up close quarters because you're swarming the other team. You have your MP9 or MP5, and you're shooting them. You get them down to like 10 health, but you die. It doesn't matter. Your buddy's right there. Boom, they're killing them. They're getting you right back up, and you're grabbing all your stuff and you're moving on. The shotguns, all those close quadrants, you don't need them. So you can drop those weapons, and you can pick up a harmonica. That's an easy switch, right? A switch out. You can also instead carry weapons like the M60, the sniper, FAL, S85, SPR, rocket launchers, and nades in place of those close quadrant weapons. Why again? Because you're not going to be close quadrants. There's very few opportunities where you're going to be, 15 feet or closer. You just don't need those. You shouldn't be that close. War is a game of, again, teamwork, patience, discipline, right? You're not moving in alone. You're not trying to just, it's all about patience and really just, getting to that zone once it closes. That's the whole thing about wars. You just have one zone closure. If you can get there before everybody else and set up camp, the game's over. It's very hard for them to bust in when you get position and stuff like that. Or you're just waiting for them to make a mistake. Are they pushing too hard? And now you're taking a few of them out. If you can get 2, 3 of them down, now you have a chance to maybe overwhelm them and give, teamwork and push in, So that's that, but let's not get too much into the strategy because I want you guys to kind of work on the fundamentals here. Staying together, calling out you know, just kind of carrying harmonicas, lots of harmonica use, tons and tons and tons, always healing, always moving, staying in a group. It's very difficult, especially when you're mid and long range. Like, how are you dying that far away? You shouldn't be. You should be able to put up a wall and you should be harmonicking, right? Nobody should kill you that far unless this is a random double tap from an op. And even if that happens, who cares? You throw up a couple bills and you get your buddy up. They're not rushing in. They're at a distance, right? You're keeping your distance. You're holding your ground, and you're letting them get impatient and try to push up on you, and then you guys collapse on them. You know, that's kind of how that works. A few things that I did see that you guys can also work on is I think every game you guys kind of everyone just kind of hot dropped, which is fine. You know, they're on the other side of the map. It doesn't matter. The problem is that you have 10 people on your team. And even when we play like four on a team and we all hot drop and we go to loot around, there's not that much loot in that one little area, especially not for 10 people. So now you're all trying to loot this one area and you're all running around and the place is just barren. You guys need to spread out. Someone, you know, the team, if we're going back to this one, 3-3-3, 3 to the right, 3 hot drop, 3 pot out a little bit, and then the one person just does whatever they want. But that way you have 3 and then you come together. You don't spend too much time looting, and you don't have to if you spread out because there's more resources. And then you come together to form that line and be ready for when that other team shows up. So spread out to loot. Another thing you have to do with war is, again, there's 10 people. So all the resources behind you after you create your stance halfway through the map, there's not that many more resources behind you. You can't like fall back and grab more ammo and all these things. There's just less ammo around. On regular games where you're a team of 3, you kill a team and you grab all their stuff that they've been looting, and you progressively get more and more ammo. But that doesn't really happen with 10v10 because it's either you beat them or they beat you, and there's no gathering of loot. You know, it's very difficult. So you need to conserve resources. Again, why are you firing at somebody across the map, wasting your ammo? Because even if you kill them, it doesn't matter. But the points don't matter. The kill doesn't matter because they're so far away, their teammate's just going to get them up and then they grab all their stuff again. And none of that matters. It's only the win that matters. So conserving ammo, working on position, that's what wins the game, right? So I just see everyone just like shooting, and it's kind of like, what are you shooting at? I mean, even if you get a kill, so what? Nothing happened, Which brings me back to the zone. It's all about that zone. It's all about getting into position to where when that zone is going to close, you guys are there. Getting into position. When you can choose your position to fight from, it's very difficult for the team to push on you. You're getting in those high points, the ones with the hard cover, and they have to manage to make their way into that zone. You're peeking the walls. It's just really challenging. And then also, if you are going to make any kind of little move, let's say you take 2 people out and you notice that there's just 3 over there, you should be pushing together as a group, right? Never going at it alone. Again, it's 10v10. There's so many people. You need to make small movements forward and stay together as a team, so that if your teammate goes down, someone's harming them even before they're res. That way it's full steam ahead. 8 seconds as they get up, they get all their weaponry right there in front of them. It's very important to not lose your stuff. That's the most important thing. Don't die, obviously. That sounds silly, but it's true. Don't die. There's no reason you should be dying. You should be fighting mid to far range, and there's no reason you can't get up a build and heal yourself up and not lose that position, and don't lose your stuff. It's the way that people win wars, and you'll watch in that first video, is they take 2 of you guys out, and then those 2 people are falling back to get rezzed. They get all of your stuff and they move forward, and then those people get rezzed, and then they're looking around for guns and loots, and there's nothing there because it's all been looted. And so now they're running around with a CX4 and 100 bullets, and then the waves just start because you gave up so much power right there because you lost your stuff. So but if you move as a group, even if one of you dies, then the other 2 don't keep chasing them down. You stop as a team, you get your buddy up, You heal them up, you grab your stuff, and then you move forward. It's a very patient moving forward thing until they're just like completely on the run. And even then, you should still be moving forward as a group. You don't want to give them the opportunity to get a couple kills and to try to even that score. There's no point. They're on the run. They're bleeding. Just move forward as a team, slowly and forward. Don't try to be the hero and take everybody out. There's no point in that. It doesn't do anything. You just move together as this wall, as this, this stronghold, and you just can't. It's so hard to recover once you're on the run. It's really hard. And then last thing real quick. So basically there's the going strategy, I think, for war is just to kind of move out and kind of take a nice wide approach, and just kind of hold your position, wait for them to do something stupid. What you don't want to do is get too grouped up. Then the team will kind of surround you and you're just getting hit like fish in a barrel. So it's important. All the teams got to spread out. Maybe you have your 3 here, then your third team here, and your third team, and this guy can kind of wander around. Usually it's like the sniper, right? He can just do whatever and kind of be, or this can be like your main shot caller, just kind of making sure all the other teams are not getting too far away and kind of managing them as the 1, 2, as a 1, 2, 3. So the solo person here is kind of like, these are their 3 teammates, right? The leaders, and kind of being like, hey, so-and-so, you're getting a little bit off to the right or whatever. But that's just something to keep in perspective. I don't really think the focus right now is gameplay strategy so much as it is, again, just the fundamentals, right? Understanding that kills, points, do not matter at all. It's only the win. And so discipline and not trying to just get as many kills or as many points, that's not the game plan. It's position on the map and holding that position. And letting them waste all their ammo and resources and all that good stuff. Staying together as a team, either the 3-3-1 or the 4-4-1-1, and just staying together and not getting spread apart. Those are the fundamentals. So patience, the teamwork, and harmonica use. Lots and lots of harmonic use, the strongest weapon in the game. Drop your close quadrant weapons. You don't need them. You don't need them. Grab a harmonica, grab a rocket launcher, nades. Don't use them in the beginning. You don't need to use this stuff. It's, wait until they get impatient and 3 people are pushing in and surround them. You get those 3 people, and now you can start your wave, right? Don't drop in the same spot for loot, spread out, okay? And that's pretty much it. Those kind of 3 things, work on it on this next game. And then once those things are kind of much better, you won't be getting just run over. And then we can kind of talk about maybe strategy and looking at the video and seeing where everyone's at and look at this person's a little off and, those types of things. But those are kind of the big take homes here. So maybe tonight's game, we can actually review the footage and talk about it. But those are the key things that I saw in the first game, and they don't really require, looking at the actual footage. It's just the fundamentals. All right.